Sure. I'll talk it out.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
Track 3.
Better not be fucking Dave Matthews Band.
Okay. Those of you who don't want to be a part of this can leave now.
Derek, please listen to me.
But if you choose to stay, which it seems like you guys are choosing...
Derek, please.
You understand and agree to the following terms and conditions.
Derek!
1.
Derek, this is the virus
You
talking.
hereby waive your right
Derek, please.
to your own personal bodily integrity.
This is not you.
2.
I'm a light...
Per the State versus Neville Reed, my colleague and I will not be held criminally liable for any felony or misdemeanor that you may be a victim of, including, but not limited to, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, destruction of property, mayhem, and first-degree murder. And 3, terms and conditions may change or be updated whenever the fuck I want! Consider yourselves notified.
Let's rewind like a VHS. Turn back the time, feel the beating of our chest. Make sure that we never forget. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. Let's concede that we wanna believe that the past was only a dream, just a place that we never could leave. Follow what's on the way to retrieve. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. Feel the beating of our chest. Make sure that we never forget. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS, VHS. Let's rewind like a VHS. VHS.
What up, everyone? DJ Noobs here with you on the Cinematic Synergy with my co-host and good friend Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Anytime. Thanks for having me once again.
And if you're not familiar with this show, we once a month go through and alternate on picks of a movie that we will check out and review for you all. Sometimes we've seen it before, sometimes we haven't. Most of the time we try to do things that we haven't seen. But in this case, you'd already seen this at one time, but you did highly recommend it. So I went and checked it out, and we're here to talk about it. And that movie is Kill Command 2016. Directed by Stephen Gomez. Cast consists of Thuray Linhart as Bukes, Vanessa Kirby as Mills, David Ajala as Drifter, and the plot is set in the near future, technology-reliant society that pits man against killing machines. So, what made you want to choose this film?
Well, if you remember a couple of weeks back, on my channel, the Entertainment Headquarters, I do a segment called My Top 10. And obviously, I told you that I was going to do one based on sci-fi films, my top 10 current sci-fi movies. And I'd seen this once or twice throughout the years, and it's a film I've always enjoyed. And obviously, I showcased it during that segment, and you yourself, I showcased the trailer. You yourself found the trailer quite interesting, and so because I knew you hadn't seen it, I thought it would be a good shout out for you to get in there and check it out.
Yep. And that was actually a fun show. We had a lot of fun talking about our top tens, and we came to the same conclusion at number one, which was really nice.
Very
But
nice indeed.
yeah. So basically, what we have here is, society, at least in terms of the military, is starting to try to do away with the fact that they want to use humans for war. So this is like a common theme throughout most sci-fi films, or even, uh, final films of, Earth devastation or whatever. They try to get away from humans having to fight and die for wars. So they want to go to machines. We kind of saw this with Tony Stark and the Marvel thing with Iron Man. He wanted to stop everyone from having to fight battles and just have robots do it. And that never ends well. So it always kind of comes to the same conclusion. Terminators, you name it. It's whatever it is. It's always coming to
the X-Men with the Sentinels.
Yep. It's like we haven't learned our lesson when it comes to sci-fi. We just keep trying to do the same shit. What we have here, where and this is a unique take on sci-fi, and this whole film is I really like this a lot. Bukes is like the captain of basically a platoon of soldiers that they have these training facilities where Vanessa Kirby's character Mills, she's a female operative who also has implants of some sort. I don't think they really explain how it happened, but she's able to.
She's basically like a
database.
She's basically like a cyborg.
Yeah.
Basically, she works for the agency, the company, which is Harbinger Corporation.
Yeah.
Harbinger Corporation, which is like this advanced technology company that basically makes all of this high-tech robotic, war equipment and technology and weapons for the military. And she works for them as one of the advanced, technologists that works on the stuff. And
I think she's the creator of the AI system.
The AI system, and she's creator of all that. But she also has implants throughout her body there, where she can integrate herself or interact with basically the technology and the AI that she's helped to create.
Yeah, it's kind of cool with the eyes and how she can connect to the database and the system that she's looking at. And she can even, when she looks at you, she can kind of pull up your information through your facial recognition, and which is crazy because obviously at the beginning of the film, she discovers that there's some anomalies in the system that is a little bit weird. Like it's not making a lot of sense. So she confronts one of her bosses, and he's like, well, congratulations. And I guess that means that she's going to go check this out at this facility because she's the creator or lead programmer for these machines that they're using AIs, where they go out, they train against the soldiers, but they're supposed to kind of pick up and learn different techniques and formations and stuff like that using AI. So she finds the anomaly, and then she's going on a routine training exercise with this group of soldiers led by Butte, and Drifter is one of the guys in there as well. I'm going to get to a little bit more with him in a minute, but so at first it's your typical, like, humans don't really care for these cyborg type half human, half machine people, even though I'm not really quite sure how human she is, but she does have some human tendencies, so that's kind of the thing about her character. Plus, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think with the captain though, I think with him is what he doesn't like is he's old school soldier.
Yeah,
he grew up fighting. He grew up with hand combat, being on the battlefield, toe to toe, man versus man, and they're now in this futuristic setting where he probably looks at it all the sacrifices that the people in the past have made, and now we're being replaced by machines and technology and stuff like that. And I think he has like a bit of a grudge against her because she's one of the IT, creators, I guess. So she's basically helping to create what's gonna, basically make them obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, there's like a nice little quip because they're getting on like this helicopter thing, almost like a drone, which is going to fly them to the train island for the training. And as she's on there, she's kind of looking over everybody, and she's trying to introduce herself in a way that's to be friendly to these soldiers, but they're kind of like just blowing her off. They're like, "Oh, did you just scan me?" Like they take it as a personal insult. Then one moment, the other female soldiers like, "Look out! She might pull up your porn history." And then I think it's Drifter. He's actually saying like, "Well, they're gonna have an all day job with that. They're gonna need more than one person for my porn history." So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they tend to kind of they push back a lot on this stuff. Whether or not it's because they know their days are numbered as being soldiers, or it's they don't trust them, because that certainly plays a part throughout the film. Once they start seeing how she interacts with these machines, so they end up flying out there to the island, and they get there, and it's pretty quiet. There isn't like a whole lot of action, which is already kind of strange. But they have their objective. They're supposed to go spend a couple days out in this wooded areas, and basically it's a training exercise to try to outwit the machines that are going to be it's almost like tag team or paintball, but it's not. They don't realize till later it's going to be real live ammo and stuff like that. So your feelings at the beginning of this embarkment?
One thing I loved about, well, I like about the whole film, but what I quite enjoyed right off the bat is obviously the tech, when you see them in the beginning, and like they found this anomaly and they've lost contact with this training ground, and then they sent them out to do this training exercise and probably to discover what's going on. I found what I loved about it in the interaction with the characters in Mills is how grounded and gritty it kind of is, and it reminded me of like things like right off the bat, the beginning of like say Predator or something like Aliens, where you've got them all in and you've got this outsider like Ripley when she first was interacting with the commandos and aliens. They were against her. They kind of shrugged that off. They didn't, because obviously she's talking about this creature that no one's ever seen, so they're kind of, skeptical and playing off that she's crazy. And obviously I liked how in like the beginning they're all like kind of roughing each other's feathers. They're kind of all lowballing one another, and the interaction with the characters is very much remnant of films from that genre, like the early 80s and 90s, where you had like the commandos and the setting and how they would interact with each other within the course of them films. So I really liked it straight off the bat, right off the beginning.
Yeah, agreed. So as they're starting off on their campaign here, they start to realize, I think they take out like a couple of the little drone shooters or whatever they are out there. They have like little ponds that they use. We have like this. There's like these main type of, I don't know what you really call them, but it's the main one where they're like the four crawlers. They're kind of like the sergeants of the machines. They're the ones that run these drones and keep them in order. But we have one in particular we would call it a malfunction, but it's clearly just used its AI to kind of outsmart the humans at this point. So it's starting to try to learn.
It's called SAW, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Study, analyze, reprogram.
Yeah. SAW 003 is the name of the lead kind of head honcho robot droid, who seems to be overseeing everything and studying and taking in everything that's going on during the interactions with the smaller, I would guess, normal like warrior drones, I guess you would call them. and obviously the people involved in the training exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously, they come across these other like drones that are for scouting. They pop up here and there, and they're kind of like the eyes and ears of the other machines to kind of get a fix on where everybody is. Um, there's a point in this film where like this kind of like fails in a sense that again, this film probably could have used another 30 minutes for character depth. Like I really thought it could have used some more of that. It's really good premise. I like everything about it. So that's kind of like why I wanted more from it. But Drifter, there's a moment where Drifter and Mills are kind of connecting, and obviously it's a weird situation because obviously she's a cyborg, but you kind of like get this point where she's really attempting to try to be human. Like she doesn't cry or anything, but she can feel like whenever someone tries to like push her away or treat her like ass, she feels that like she feels rejected by that. So she obviously has a sense of feeling, and so she does connect with Drifter in a way that at first you're kind of thinking like, well, there's like this budding romance that might happen between these a human and an android, almost like Blade Runner in some ways. Uh, but soon like one of their guys overnight is killed. They don't see it happen, but he's missing, and so now they're trying to search out his body, and all they end up finding is like his helmet. And the when I think it's a Loftus, he's the first one to go, so he's killed by the SAR unit. And uh, I'm not. At first, I thought they were going to do this thing like where whenever they attack you, like I thought maybe they might try to suck out your brain or something like weird like that to try to get the intelligence, like from Starship Troopers or something. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really work. Like I think they were kind of just trying to learn the human anatomy to figure out
Hmm.
our pressure points, what we can handle for torture and stuff like that. So I think that's sort of what that was all about. What was your impression of the first like death?
The first death, that's where she's asleep having a dream, isn't she? She's like, it's when basically right before that they did this exercise where they could see the drones and they had the high ground. And they
Yeah,
basically took out a lot of the drones, and then they just think, well, this is easy.
yeah,
They're wasting our time. We can deal with stuff like this. But then you see Saw 003, he's kind of took all that in, the information in, and he's kind of, because like you see, he's got the flying drones that's recording everything and feeding back this information to him. So then obviously the next thing is nighttime, like campsite, and then of course she's then trying to interact with the other soldiers, and they don't really want to know. And she goes to sleep. So this is where you get vibes that is she is she a cyborg, or is she just human with mechanical, plant? Because she
right,
clearly can dream. But she
yeah,
dreams and she sees like a deer, and she sees like the outline of him, and then the next thing you know, he's wandering about and he hears a noise, and next thing you know, you just see the light, the blue eye lights from Saw, and the next thing you know, he's taken out. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it kind of, I liked how they like filmed it. I thought the cinematography around that was good, because it give you like a proper feeling that these things are unpredictable. You don't, unpredictable. And one, the learning from what's going on, and they're quite scary as well. Like the
oh
like
yeah,
it's like it didn't like, even though the designs of the robots aren't terrifying, it's the behavior of them that kind
yeah.
of warrants you to be afraid, especially when the main one, they don't talk, they're so silent, and they can creep up on you at any moment. So I really enjoyed the first kill and how that whole scene was put together.
Yeah, because you start to get the vibe that again, Bukes is a little bit hesitant. He's kind of a cold-hearted captain leader, and so Drifter's kind of like that mediator between Bukes and Mills. So he's like trying to explain, Bukes is just hard ass, but he's a good guy, good soldier. But Drifter also tries to convince Bukes that they need Mills because she does have this connection to the database and to the machines because she's the one that created them. So even though at that point they don't even know that, she's able to, like, if they are coming up on them, she can tell them to stop. Like she could just say stop and they'll stop. So she's trying to figure out for herself, like, why are they attacking and why are they uh why are they just doing stuff on their own? Like she doesn't realize at this point that there's another machine kind of taking over the whole thing and trying to rewire everything or configurate the machine. So she's just trying to figure everything out, but it makes her look bad to some of the platoon because they think she's in on this whole attack. And of course, when they get up the next morning, the machines have started taking the high ground, just basically learning from what they were doing. And so they're picking up on, like, oh shit, they're learning from us. They're taking our spots. What's going on? So they end
Yeah,
up
so
killing like another guy, I think,
so
Hackett, I
that
think.
going back to what you said with the first kill, the only really did the first kill is a distraction to get them into the location that they needed to
Yep,
target them to like do the same attack formation that they had done on the drones previously. It was all a setup. So he was
yep,
kept. So basically, it showed you they killed him out of cold blood to target the rest of the team to continue, I guess, analyzing them and to study them and to like focus on how they are. Because now that they're in the same predicament as the drones were, now the SARS robot, SARS 003, is now going to study how they're going to get out of that predicament. So he's
yep,
constantly evolving and he's constantly studying and he's constantly putting them in these dangerous situations.
yep. And so obviously as they're being attacked from the high ground, they try to get to a bunker. And so uh, initially Bukes and Mills are going up because Mills has the ability to get in stuff if Bukes can't get in. Bukes does have his clearances, but because they don't know whether or not it's going to be good enough, she goes with them. And Drifter and the rest of the guys that are left are covering their ground from their spots up in the trees, or not in the trees, but next to the trees and whatnot on the high ground. Of course, as Bukes is trying to get into the bunker, he can't, so he has Mills try to get in there, but it's taking a minute. All of a sudden, smoke grenades come popping in and basically covering up the road where Bukes and Mills are, separating them from the rest of them. And all of a sudden, hell comes loose as the robots start coming in on the guys up in the trees and stuff. So already we're learning, like Drifter, when he first sees this, he's almost incredulous. He's like, they're using our methods. What the fuck? you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, so they clearly are learning from these guys. And so shit starts to really hit the fan because they can't see anything between each other. They don't even see Bukes in them and so forth. So panic sets in a little bit. So as everyone finally, she's able to get the door open to the bunker, and they're telling them to come on, but the Drifter gets hit with a couple shots to the leg and the shoulder, I think, and he's caught behind. And SARS, what'd you call him, SARS 3 or whatever it is?
Yeah, Saw 03, I believe he's called.
Yeah.
He
So
he's like the leader, but he's quite stealthy for his
yeah,
size. So it's a big ass fucking robot first and foremost. Like even when it was the first kill, it was pitch black, and the fact that he was able to maneuver around and not be caught and pick
yeah,
off
it's funny because like
one.
they're not they're not necessarily scary, but they're very menacing for their
Yeah,
look, which is
well,
pretty
that's
interesting.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say before. It's like even though they don't look scary, it's the behavior of them. It's how they, the mannerisms of the actual robots and how they interact, and it's very cold and menacing without actually being cold and menacing.
Yep. So anyway, Drifter's caught. SARS 003 has him, and basically Drifter realizes that this thing's going to try to cut him up just to figure out his pressure points and what makes him tick. It's all part of the learning process for the machine. So he's like saying, "Dude, just kill me!" Like he's yelling at him, like to do it. But Mills is trying to get access to the machines to shut them down. And for a quick moment, she gets some of the little drones that give up the shots. But the main machine is still doing its thing and still fighting against her. So she's having a hard time breaking into his coding. And anyway, Bukes ends up shooting Drifter in the head just so he can save him all the pain
Yeah.
and the death. So Vanessa, this is where Mills, her character, basically yells out no, like she cared about Drifter in some way. So that's why I thought it was weird that they spent that time trying to build up that relationship, but it just was a quick thing. Like it just, and then he was gone. So I kind of wish they would have at least fleshed out that part of it a little more before he went out of the picture.
I kind of took it like this: is when you first see her, she's pretty hard faced, and you
Mm-hmm.
can tell she's had like a tormented past. Like you say, if she was human, what happened to her for her to become a cyborg? I think they did. I'm sure they said something about the implant in the back of her neck. She was paralyzed or something as a kid, and so they had to put implants in her body to like make her walk and stuff like that. So they did explain that a little bit, but I just felt
Mm-hmm.
as like her backstory wasn't fleshed out as much, because why was she
Yeah,
so like wanting to interact and talk to these people and to get to know them and to build a bond with them? It made us feel like she was like,
right.
she might have felt like, because of her past trauma and with her like being stuck inside of herself, did she feel like she was more machine than human? And so she was trying to build these bonds, and when he obviously dies, because he gets, he helps him and shoots him so he doesn't get cut up and he's, subject to any more pain, she feels like he's lost at that moment, and that's why she yells out no, because she felt like she finally had somebody who she was bonding with after all this time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do see that nice moment where she showing her bit of humanity as Drifter is gone and killed. Um, and then, of course, they get into the bunker and they're making their way around now. They can't keep the SARS out because they can just kind of melt and get in there, but it takes them a few minutes. But they have some time, so they're going through these different rooms, almost kind of like you would see in Aliens or something, where they would just shut the doors and lock them or whatever. But they end up coming to this room where she's able to turn on lights because she has the power to get into the control boxes and stuff, and they see that they're in like a little warehouse where some more of these SARS machines are. Like like a holding area, and they're not activated at the moment, but they see them, and then of course they start trying to make their way around to the control room. Now, if she's trying to access like some computer networking while they're back there, she has a hard time doing it because like it looks like a lot of the stuff's scrambled. And so then I think it's Goodwin who's like one of the only few other soldiers. It's like Goodwin. I can't remember who the sniper guy was, but it's him, Goodwin, Bukes, and Mills are like basically the four that are left at this point. So Goodwin's like asking her like, what are you looking for? And then he turns around, she's gone. She's gone back into the warehouse to try to reactivate one of the SARS units because they all share information between each other. So she's trying to access the database and figure out what the fuck's going on. Uh, I could have told her that would have been a bad idea, but
Well, so yeah, as soon as you seen that there were two other Saw robots, you've seen what the first one can do, that's fully activated and fully active, and is, the brains behind this kind of killing spree with the other drones. And she's now decided, I'm going to log into another one and activate it and get as much information out of it. Surely your brain would tell you that's the worst fucking idea you could have possibly do under the situation that you're in.
yeah, because information travels back and forth. So even though she's able to peer into what they're doing, they can see her and peer what she's doing. So she gets one activated. She starts asking questions and she gives it voice commands. So it's telling her that it's still learning. It's trying to learn the things that they're doing. Of course, along the way, when they're in this bunker, they find some dead people. So clearly, the machines have already killed anybody else that's even at that facility. Um, and so anyway, the other SARS unit that she's activated is getting also controlled by the 003 version because it's seeing what she's trying to do, so it's trying to lock her out. And so all of
Yeah.
a sudden the machine's like identify, 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 and it starts activating another sergeant. So now she's in trouble. And so Bukes and
It
them come back
be,
and they start
and it
like
basically
trying to
log.
break
I'm
out of.
sure, and it basically logs her out of the system
Yep.
because she's trying to activate it, and the robots aren't recognizing her command or anything. And is this going to be spoiler? Are we going to
Yeah,
have
it's fine.
few
It's 2016, so it's been out a
Yeah,
while.
so it's been out for a while, people. So I still
And if
suggest
you
you
haven't
check it
seen it,
out.
it's on Tubi right now, so you can
Yeah,
watch
it's
it on
on
Tubi.
Tubi, and if you're in the UK, it's on Amazon Prime. Um, but this is also the point where she figures out, because don't forget, right at the beginning of the film, why they're sent to this training facility is because there's an anomaly in the system and they've
Mm-hmm.
lost contact with the actual training facility. So this is when it's revealed basically that the SARS-03 robot basically plotted the whole thing to get human soldiers there so he could experiment on them and test them and to basically study them. So it's all been a plot by this SARS robot to basically get them here so he can study human beings.
Yep. Yeah, so that it's had purposely sent for them to be there, so it can study them and learn from them. At the same time, Mills is able to discover an EMP device that could stop the original SAR unit, but it could hurt her too by wiping her clean because she does store information in her own head and everything. Um, so they basically start their attempt to lay like explosive devices around, and of course, these machines are still coming through the doors, trying to get to them, to the point that they get out on the other side of the facility, the bunker, and they realize it's like this old buildings and cars and stuff. It looks like it was a training ground for the machines, and clearly the machines have been using a lot of target practice in there with the dummies and stuff. So they start placing some devices in some of the old cars, and they know that they got to kind of hold out because they got to fight there. So they're going to try to set up spots like the sniper will be up on the roof. Goodwin's going to be setting devices in different parts of the buildings. And I guess Bukes and Mills are going to kind of be like the bait for when the machines actually come. And the funny thing is, the machines are very smart too. They were like, at times they would kind of push on and then they pull back because they want to kind of observe what the humans were going to do. So that was kind of an interesting thing where they could have easily just kept forging forward, but they wanted to learn as much as they could from the humans and their behavior. So they'd pull back. And then as we get to the following day, like they're going to try to use that EMP device on the main unit once it comes into range. And Bukes is at this point, Bukes has kind of had a change of heart a little bit. He's warmed up to Mills and he's like, you shouldn't be here when this goes off. It's going to kill you, like it destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so the machines start coming in and all hell breaks loose. The sniper guy is able to take out a few things. Goodwin is still laying some bombs and traps. Uh, and eventually, the little drone things comes with the SARS-003. And it's almost like at the last minute, the SARS, looks over and knows that something's a plan here. So they activate the EMP, wipes out the drones, and kind of knocks down the SARS-003 unit for a short time. But it also affects Mills as well. So now Bukes is kind of like having to kind of carry her out of the way because the SARS gets back up. And how did you feel about this moment of the movie?
This part of the movie feels slightly rushed. I felt the pacing was well paced throughout the film, but then by film's end, the last few minutes felt out of place, or just felt like it was like rushed in a way. And of course, with Mills being using the EPN, but I did like the final scene with her and Sauce when he's like saying identify at the end, and she finally goes round, I'm human.
Yeah.
I thought it was great dialogue, and I thought it was slowly building where she wanted to basically say, I'm not just a cyborg, I was human at one point. And she'll probably, because of the events that's transpired throughout the movie, of her slowly to getting to know this team of soldiers and trying to like rebuild bonds with humanity in some way, she now feels like she can actually say out loud, past that trauma, I actually am human. And that's what I actually quite took away from this. It was her regaining her humanity.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it all is, because obviously we're gonna have a spoiler here, but right at the end after this, it's like she destroys the SARS unit, but the SARS unit, because it's trying to survive, downloads its protocols into her. So even though Bukes and I think Goodwin are okay, they're back at the helicopter and getting ready to leave, you get that final shot where Mills is still laying there on the ground and her eyes open up, and of course the protocols from the SARS-003 unit are still there. So
And the eyes go like that blue colour, that are the lights that are on the droid. So basically lets you know that she's now probably gonna become SARS-03. But or something like, it's basically the film's left on a cliffhanger to potentially have done a sequel, or to lead to something else, which I hope that there would have been a sequel, but this came out in 2016, so it's a long time since this one has came out.
Yeah, we need Stephen Gomez to do a sequel to this, because I think it would kind of bring a nice closure to having like her doing this duality between fighting the protocols and then also fighting for her own self-consciousness and humanity. So
definitely, the one thing I loved about Kill Command is how it looks and how it's set. You do believe it's an American-based film, but it's actually a British film. It's a British science fiction film that was obviously written and directed by Stephen Gomez, and the majority of the film was actually filmed in a location not far from where I live. It was filmed in the Surrey Hills, and part of it was filmed in Middlesex near Hayes, which is down near there. In the facility that they do, that they use as the ground, is the when they get through, and it's the giant training ground, and right at the end of that is actually part of the old Royal Albert Docks in the UK. So that's something that surprised me when I first seen this film, and probably a reason why I enjoyed it more, because there were bits and pieces of it that I never expected to find out, that it was pretty much, even though the cast are majority of American, it's actually classed as a British science fiction film.
And for those that aren't too familiar with Vanessa Kirby, she actually plays White Widow in the Mission Impossible film. So that's some of her work that she does in there. So she's a great actress. I really like her a lot. So what rating would you give this film?
For me personally, well, I'll talk about my pros and my cons. My pros, first and foremost, are I like the setting. I like the futuristic setting. The CGI, I think, is fantastic for its time, way back into 2016. I thought it was well crafted. The cast did a great job. I like some of the kills. I thought, like we've mentioned, the robots, without being menacing, were menacing. My favourite kill was the kill where SARS-03 holds up the guy, and he gets the shotgun drone to blow him away. That, for me, set the tone for the film.
Yeah.
Me con though for the film is it. I think the first half sets it up mysteriously, and it comes across as a very well crafted film. But then by the back end, there's elements of it that I think it falls off. And I felt the last half hour was rushed, and I thought the way the characters came across by film's end, like obviously desperate and all that, but I just felt like the focus had changed slightly by the film's end, and that kind of put us off a bit. But overall, it's a well crafted film, and
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to give it. How do you do your ratings again on your
1 through 10. 1 through
1
10.
to 10? I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really the only flaw I can think of is that it just needs to be fleshed out more. It could have used another half hour
Yeah.
to add to it, but I know budgets are kind of a pain in the ass, so you're kind of limited to what you can do. But and a lot of times, I think whenever we talk about films, and this issue always comes up where we feel like the second half of films are kind of rushed. It's because of the budgets. Like, so they start out doing one thing. They're like, yeah, it's going well, but oh shit, we're running out of money. We got run out of days. We gotta squeeze everything into the end. So then they have rush and
Yeah,
everything. So
that's
it can be
kind of
tricky for sure.
yeah, that's kind of what like the point I made in the first probably two halves of this film. It's got its steady pace, the action's great, the setup's great, how the like built the relationships with the characters was good, and even the interaction with the droids, the robots, was great. And then by the end of the film, it all just seems to get to like a fast like mess, like messed at the end. But maybe also the intention was to leave it on such a fast-paced cliffhanger way, where if this did well, they would have done a sequel.
Right. And still, we could still get one. We just gotta bug Steven about it. Yeah. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think I really enjoyed this. It's a pretty good film. Has its flaws, but again, it's still I think it was in your top 10 of your the last
Yeah,
10 or 15 years. So it's worthy of being in there. I was
definitely.
really quite surprised by this. Really good film.
It's definitely a film I can go back to from time to time and enjoy it
Yeah.
for it is, even if it's
Yeah,
just to see
it does have a good rewatchability to it, so that's for sure.
definitely.
So what do
And
you
like,
have coming up on your channel?
so well, I'm hopefully going to be doing my review for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm hoping to get out this weekend and checking that out. I'm also going to be doing another My Top 10 soon, which is my top 10 disaster movies. You and me, my friend, have to schedule soon the next retro classic movie show, which will be Conan the Barbarian, your pick, and hopefully just some more reviews and trailer reactions, and maybe a couple of personal blogs.
Yep, cool. Yeah, I think for us, later today, I think Neko and I are going to do some trailer reactions to Beetlejuice 2 as well as Alien Romulus. So we're going to do some trailer reactions to that. Come next week, I have interview with Mugen Lord. He's a creator, gamer dude. Just going to talk, some stuff about him and what he does and like what he likes to do in terms of his content. So just a little interview there with that. Thursday, Neko and I will be going to see Godzilla X Kong. We probably will do a review, but I don't want people to watch it until after I've done my collection review with you. So even if I put it out there, if you're not looking for any kind of like, I'm not going to spoil it because it's too early, but if you want to watch our review first because you're going to have some other guests, I think, doing it with us as well.
I'm gonna try and get a panel of people together, and even if it's not an actual review, I might end up just doing my own review because it just depends on all the schedules. I will probably put something together and probably maybe talk about the future of the Monsterverse. Maybe that's a Monsterverse discussion talk about the franchise as a whole, the whole of the 5 films, and just like give our thoughts on what could potentially be next.
Yeah. Yep, I'll be looking forward to that, sir. And then I'll be getting my pick ready for the next Cinematic Synergy. I don't know what's going to be yet, but we'll figure it out.
I think
Thank you again.
no problem. I think I've already got my next pick after your
Yeah,
pick.
see, he's always way ahead of me. I'm always like the last one to figure it
Well,
out.
the film that I'm gonna choose is another horror film.
Oh,
It's
cool.
it's got a limited cinematic run here, and I believe it's coming to Shudder in a few weeks' time
Okay.
over your way. But we'll wait till I get yours out of the way, and then all will be revealed.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Lambert, for joining me today, and be looking forward to the next with you as well. And hope your channel keeps rising to the occasion. You're doing really well with it, so I'm happy for you.
Thank you so
For the
much.
rest of you, thank you for subscribing and liking to this channel. Your support is much appreciated. And we will see you next time here on the Metal Time Radio Podcast. Take care of yourselves.